Happy Thursday afternoon, everybody. I'm Tom Matuska here with Matuska Taxidermy Supply Company, Thursday afternoon live. Early today, you'll notice, this is our new summer hours. I'm with Brett Wingfield and our camera lady, Caitlin, and our producer is home taking care of the little one. So we're on our own again. I know, it's kind of scary too. She usually tells us what to do and when to say it, how to say it, things like that. Summer hours, I hope you can all make it. Brett and I just got off the boat, that's why we were 5 minutes late, and I don't mean the ski boat. Anyway, we kind of rushed to get going here today. So what are we going to do? What are we going to show them?
I think we're going to talk about fish eyes.
Okay.
That's what you said. We can do anything we want to. It's your program.
I know.
No, we said, I think we get a lot of questions about fish eyes from species, how to measure coloration, and I think today we were going to cover some of the ideas and techniques that we've gone through over the years for different styles of fish eyes.
What do you like, if you're mounting a customer fish, what eye would you choose?
We've kind of done them all, and I think they all have pros and cons. I think today we do probably in the studio 90% flex size. I like the flex size because I think they have a nice coloration. They have a nice shape. This is a small walleye eye. Here it is in a small mouth. And we're going to have to get real close today, so forgive us. But
you know something about the flex eye, way back when, I'm not sure if Tom Sexton wasn't still working for Wasco.
Sure.
Tom Sexton did an article or how-to on flex eyes, and they're actually rubber. Anybody that hasn't used them before, they're a great eye. It's a computer-generated image on the front. Set it down here like that if you want. That's a walleye eye. Pupil's clear, has pearl behind it. Here's a smallmouth eye. Now we've been handling these, and they've been in our eye container for a long time, so they're not very shiny anymore. But the flex eyes could be used to actually put them in a freshly mounted fish and put a little bird necking material behind and set them and let the fish skin dry around and compress the rubber. And you had very little done right. You had very little repair work to do around that eye union where the eye met the socket, and it worked excellent once in a while. My issue was I could get them both looking what I thought was nice, come back a week later and look at them, and one stayed and one moved. So you always ended up pulling them out. So we can set them in fix-it sculpt or epoxy sculpt or things like that.
Yeah.
What else you got for eyes?
So that's what we would use in the shop. I think we use a fair amount of the Reinhardt Aqua Eye.
Mm-hmm.
That would be this one. One of the nice parts of this Aqua Eye anatomically is there's a little bit of forward look to it, or a little bit of a forward swell, which I think is accurate from the reference material that we have from molds and casts and looking at the live fish. Fish studies in the
you
aquarium.
and I think more than anybody have molded and cast more fish eyes than anybody.
I believe that.
And we find that forward look more common than not, I guess, and just about everything. I've got little bitty perch eyes. It seems like anything that preys upon something has that forward look eye to it.
That little bit of corneal swell as far as to the front. Yeah.
Warm water fish anyway.
That's what I was going to preface that with. Our strongest reference would be with warm water
Perch and walleyes and bass and muskies and pike.
Yep. So that's one of the advantages of the Reinhardt eye. Another eye, or the Aqua Eye, I should say. Another eye is the Tohican glass eye. And those are nice eyes. Those have been around for
Forever.
way longer than me.
They used to come on a wire. We used to, and I think you still can probably from some companies get them on a wire.
Yeah.
They're actually molten glass, squished out with a pupil on a wire.
Sure. One of the positives of the previous two is that talking just a little bit about anatomy, the sclera is included on this eye. So we have the pupil, the iris, and the sclera, and we'll diagram that shortly on the board. But one of the major differences, and again, we've got sclera, the iris, and the pupil here. But one of the major differences with the glass is that that scleral band is not included, and it's intended to be rebuilt. So if we compared this eye to our reference material over here, a photograph, we have the pupil here, as seen in the photo, and then we have the iris, which would be this portion in the brown here, but then we don't have any of this scleral band included on this eye. And on this eye, we do. And same with the flex eye. You can really see it on the flex eye because they leave it white for you to color later. You can see that sclera, and Tom's got a great cast of a walleye that will illustrate
And
that.
this will show it right there.
Yeah.
There's your cornea, there's your scleral band. There's a fine red Sharpie line on there that shows the separation between the two. And look how much of that scleral band protrudes past the top of the head.
Yep. Yeah, that's very visible. And notice that forward look, or that forward corneal bulge, really shows in that cast. And that walleye, I remember when we made that fish, that he was very, very, very fresh when we made that mold. Like, brought him in, he didn't like it, no, he didn't. So, several different kinds of eyes, pros and cons to each, but this might not be my favorite coloration for a walleye eye. Everybody, that seems to be one that varies the most among the stuff that we do, our walleyes. And this for me, I believe this is a largemouth bass eye, and that might be just a little dark for my taste.
For your taste, yeah.
Yeah.
You'll find a walleye, or you'll find a largemouth like that, but for a customer looking at it, he's probably not going to get excited by looking at the eyes.
Sure. So little things here and there, and sometimes we run into a fish where we can't buy the eye specifically. So another option would be to paint them.
Paint them. That's what we're going to show you today.
Yep.
I'm going to try to show you today. Another option, and there's probably a few blanks on the market, but we're familiar with Jeff Lumsden's still life fisheye lenses.
Yep.
And they look like this. Now, you can get them. I don't have one without the pupil painted here, thank goodness. And you can get them with the pupil or without the pupil.
Yep.
Now, where you might want them without the pupil is a lot of fish have different pupil shapes. You'll get salmon where they may have the lower bottom of their pupil is kind of pointed. You'll get, I was just going through reference pictures for live today, and you will get catfish that are almost diamond shaped, kind of square tipped sideways. So that's where you might want to customize a pupil. Colorations, nobody makes a gar eye,
Right.
We would never carry a gar eye. A gar has a very distinct line, just like the crappie has a line going through the eye up and down. Our gar have a line going horizontally, so those type of things, by using painting your own eye, you can customize it to what you want.
Yeah. And for the competition side of things. I think a lot of people like to paint their own eyes. I think you might agree or disagree.
I agree.
Think,
I know what you're gonna say.
I think that a hand painted eye well done is worth a little bit of credit.
Gains favor.
Yes.
Gains favor with the judges.
Yep. A hand painted eye poorly done, I think I'd rather see a commercial eye. You know.
Sure.
Sure. But as you start to express some different opinions and different things going on with your fish work, painting eyes can be kind of fun and rewarding.
It's so fun that the rewards go away because you can't, and you can never make two the same. That's another thing. Good thing fish go on the wall because people can't compare the right eye to the left eye. For me, anyway. These are some eyes that we painted here. You can maybe Caitlin can zoom in on these. Is that the glass eye? That's
the glass.
That's a Tohican glass eye. The rest of these are all Lumsden eyes, and just playing. We're just playing with colors and taking good pictures, reference pictures, and trying to copy. And if you come anywhere in the ballpark, either whether the tone of the metallics or the lightness or darkness, anywhere in the ballpark, it's going to might be better than what you could purchase.
Yep, absolutely. And this is
go ahead.
Big and scary, but it's really not. It's fun.
Here's what I found in painting eyes, and I guess I don't have my throwaway one here. But as I was painting eyes, something would go wrong, and I go, oh no, I wrecked it. I stuck my finger in it one time. I dropped it another time. Got dust in it. A little bit of lacquer thinner. Paper towel, wipe it out, you're good to go again. You can it's like erasing. You can back up and start over, you know, over and over again. So what I like to have is I like to have one to play with, and I'm going to do the application, like if I'm going to do the border between the sclera and the iris, I like to do it on a practice piece first, then I can turn it over and go, ooh, that's really, really nice, or no, I missed it. And I can wipe it out and start again. One simple little practice eye is very, very helpful.
Valuable, very valuable.
So these are just, and then this one, you might have to zoom up here again. These are the steps of an eye we were working on. That was the first step. Taking it out of the bag.
Yeah.
Second step was the gold ring around the pupil, and maybe you can see it on the darkness there. Can you see the gold ring?
Oh yeah.
And then the separation between just a little color band where the sclera meets the iris. And then we started putting in the iris, and then the last step would be paint your sclera, and you can kind of do it after you mount the fish, even if you wanted to, or have it on the inside of the eye also.
Yeah, absolutely. So, are you starting with a clear lens?
No. Get away. Get away. I did have one, that's where it was.
But
that's my practice one I was looking for.
One of the most distinct features of a fisheye is the pupil. So whether you're going to purchase, and the Lumsden eye, fortunately for us, because that is a pretty tough piece to apply, comes with or without the clear pupil. Mm-hmm. So you're going to start with I'll start with one with the pupil. If the ones that I put the pupil on, I've used the pen that worked good for me. Directions come with these eyes too, so you can read the direction sheet, and then he said a Sharpie, fine Sharpie paint pen. Yeah. We couldn't find one. This is just an Elmer's painter's pen, and it's the kind that has the porous end, and you poke it down to get paint to flow, and then you can make your pupil like that.
And if you haven't done so already, make sure to like and share this page to be entered for our giveaway for next week's Facebook Live.
number one pupil.
So that would be to determine your pupil shape or size. So we have a pre-done pupil. If you were doing a gar, it might be a round one. If, like Tom implied, the salmon, you might have a little more of a lower lobe to it. So the first step is to accomplish your pupil.
And another thing, as you're working on these eyes, it's kind of hard to hold them and do pupils and things like that. Some people get real good at it. Put them down on a table, they're going all over the place. We have either taken a piece of clay to where we can stick them down to the table, or Jeff sells these great little lens caddies. They come in every size, and if you put them in here like so, there's a little X in the bottom, and if you're making the pupil, painting the pupil, follow that X, and you can use that as a guide for center as well as size of your pupil.
Which is a pretty big deal when it comes to trying to make the left side look like the right side. Pupil size is something that's very noticeable, and I've struggled with that many times. So once you've got your pupil, what's the next thing that you like?
Next thing I do, I probably do things completely different than everybody. And in reading Jeff's directions, I thought, oh, yeah, I bet that works for them. And I do it the opposite. And you said it was difficult for you because you have to think backwards. And it's easy for me because I've been backwards my entire life, you know, so kind of comes naturally.
And so just to make reference to what Tom's talking about, all of the painting done on these eyes, rather than painting on the surface, which we would normally do if we were painting a fish or if we were painting a deer or any of our mammal work, we're going to paint on the inside of a clear lens. So what I meant by backwards is the first color that you apply will be the nearest color to the surface here, and that will be the most visible color. So for me, I like to layer and build out. In painting a fisheye, it's backwards. You've got to layer inside out.
I'm all confused.
Complicated. But anyway, so step one was to create the pupil. What's your second step?
My second step is going to be the gold ring.
Okay.
And when you do any of these colors, there's so many different products that you can choose from. And you're going to pick your favorite. To do the gold ring, I have used liquid scales. I have used, another one of my favorites is Woods and Waters paint. I have used pan pastels mixed with triple thick to make a nice rich light ring around the pupil. So there's not a right or a wrong. You're gonna experiment and you're gonna find what product works best for you.
Now, as Tom's getting ready to put that on, I'll just show him a picture of what we're talking about in the gold ring.
Just when I start painting, make sure you get the picture out of there so they can't compare.
We're talking about this gold ring right around the pupil. And you'll see it. It's a pretty common feature in most fish, most species of fish. This is a couple different northern pike pictures. Coming back here, we've got a black crappie. You can still see a sliver of it. I believe this one's a bluegill. So it's going to be present in most all of your species. So you're going to put that on with,
well, in all the different gold rings I've put on, my favorite was another paint pen, metallic paint pen.
Nice.
And it worked really well. And again, this is what I will attempt to do. And all you're going to do, make sure your paint pen is working. And with the paint pen, it dries pretty fast. So as you're starting your circle, you can stop for very brief minutes, but if you do half of a pupil or half of a gold ring and wait 2 minutes to finish it, it's going to start lifting up the paint. So you have to kind of, once you start you can finish. You have to finish. And then if something goes wrong, paper towel, little lacquer thinner, wipe it out.
Sure.
Most of these paints are water-based, so they're pretty harmless.
And as Tom's doing that, you guys feel free to comment in any of your questions.
Karen Sanders would like you to paint a tarpon eye.
Oh, man.
And hello to everybody that has commented in. I apologize that I haven't. You have been acknowledged, so we thank you for all your comments and
Karen
whatnot.
Sanders, I can't wait for you to go back to the Keys because I miss your posts from the Keys.
She caught some amazing fish. Amazing, amazing fish. So you're actually starting inside on the black.
Because it's already painted black, I can't mess it up.
So what you're painting on the black isn't gonna show through.
We hope not.
No, and that's kind of a neat trick because it's very hard to paint a fine line, but if you just let your gold eke out just a little bit past the black of the pupil, that you can make a finer edge than the width of your paint pen.
Okay, then getting these out of these is my issue sometimes. I gotta look first.
We have
Is
we
it
have
good
extra
enough?
ones too.
No, we need more. Now here's where we'll probably have to redo it. A little bit more.
And he's just pushing that gold paint out just a little bit further beyond the pupil edge. And you can see in this crappie eye picture that the consistency of the gold ring around the pupil is not necessarily even. I'd like it to be as we build it, but I've got lots of different reference pictures that show it a little thicker or a little thinner. So don't be terribly intimidated by this step.
I think you went to the same world show that I did, and there used to be, with Tim Winia, was Buck
Oh yeah.
from Black Forest Eyes or something like that, and they painted fish eyes as demonstrations at their booth. His had defined pupil depressions, and they'd take a magic marker and squiggle, 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 and then they could paint an eye so fast. I mean, it was 3 minutes, it was ready for sealing.
Yeah, that was impressive. And they were nice. They were nice.
Okay, it's a little on the fine side, but it's going to be a fine ringed pupil.
Nice. So that's step 2. What is your third step? We're moving right through these.
Oh, that was 2. Thought we skipped 3. My third step is going to be, I like to define or put a defining ring around the eye, and there's a little valley in the back of the glass that separates the sclera from the iris. Now I need to choose a color, and I think it's in the picture it looks kind of very dark, touch on the green side. So I'm going to take a drop of black. Whoops, it's more than a drop. I'll leave that there. Now, any of these, I just took Woods and Waters paint. I can mix pan pastels in with it because I wanted a little green. I can mix a little black with it. Now I've got a real olive green.
And you're just applying this with a really fine spotter brush?
This is a little real fine, short bristled. What strong quarter, 3/8 of an inch bristles, and it's called a 4/0 spotter. Now, all I did was take Woods and Waters paint. I could have taken any kind of, working with typically waters, not lacquers necessarily. I could take liquid scales. I can add powders to liquid scales. You can mix any of these as long as they're kind of water soluble. So what I have now is a little kind of a green slurry that's very thin, and I'm going to just define that eye, ring around the eye. And if you'll notice, showing the picture, it's not a really nice, perfectly fine line. So I'm going to just bounce my brush, just touch it.
So drink a little coffee first.
I don't need to drink coffee. I'm pretty good the way it is. Some people say I shake like a used combine. I've been told. But I get it done.
And if you haven't done so already, make sure to check out our YouTube page, Matuska Taxidermy Supply Co. And all of our live videos will be posted on there, usually, hopefully within an hour after this. So make sure to subscribe to that. What's nice about YouTube is you don't need a Facebook page. You can pause them anytime you want. You can watch them as many times as you want. It's super user friendly. So if you haven't done so already, make sure to go subscribe.
And I just keep turning that little lens caddy till I go all the way around. Now, it's not a bad idea to make sure you get 2 lens caddies so you can paint 2 eyes at the same time, because you'll get one beautiful pike eye and then put it aside and paint the other one, and I found it very, very difficult to paint 2 the same that way.
Very nice. So what you're defining is that right on the edge of the iris and the scleral band, and that might be a very vivid dark ring, or it might be interrupted and a little slightly less.
Now,
so this is a white bass, I believe.
It is. I'd like to have it a little darker, so I like to seal everything with Fixative. This is my new best friend. We use this in the shop all the time now. But I'm going to seal. I guess you should dry it first.
Do you want a hair dryer? I need to put it away.
I got one. And it doesn't take much, just a little squirt. Now, I'd like to have it darker, so I'm going to go around it once more if you can tell them something.
Yeah.
Something more interesting.
And so he's building this definition here, and we've talked a little bit. We've used some anatomical terms as far as the eye goes. The sclera, the iris, the pupil. So I'll just give you a quick diagram here. Here's that pupil shape. This is the pupil being at the center of the eye, the dark black in the middle. And typically in warm water fish, notice I used all my little exception words that imply exception there. Typically, like most often, but there could be an exception. The point of the pupil goes forward, so it's a little bit egg-shaped, and this fish would be facing to our right. The next significant shape, so this would be the black center of the eye if you were looking at a person. That's the pupil. The next is called the iris, which is the color. So if your eyes were blue, the iris of your eye would be considered blue, and that's this portion here. And then the next area here, the white of the eye, is called the sclera, or the scleral band. So just those three significant areas, and then we talked about that gold ring that exists right here around the perimeter of the pupil, and maybe somebody wants to comment in and tell me what that's called, if there's a definition for that. How's your ring coming?
This golden ring doesn't know what it did before. Good, I think. Okay, now, not only did I do the ring, I took some of my green and I watered it down, and I put a little slop around the ring to just, because when we're going to come in with some lighter colors on that Sclera band, and it won't look like it stops with just a ring.
I like that. I like both of those. I'm excited to see those come together.
Next step, give me something hard this time.
What is next? That's up to you. You tell us.
I know what you're going to tell me. We got to do your pan pastels, right?
I like them.
All right. Pick me a color.
What kind of fish are you painting?
We're painting this guy.
Oh, a pike.
If you'll notice in the picture, and we got here, that is two, isn't it? Here's two complete different pictures. So what you're going to do is you're going to pick what you like. Do you like the vivid gold? This one's more yellow, more gold. This one's more kind of, what color would you call it? Coppery type color.
I like that color. Yeah.
Good, because that's what we're going to do.
I like that, and I like that yellow. I see that in a lot of pike. This
Top rim of
yellow
yellow.
hem, and right here, and even down in the lower portion, you've got some of that yellow there.
Now, had you told me that earlier, we would have splashed up that gold ring a little bit
That's special though.
with yellow first. And that's common. We noticed that when we were doing our competition pipe.
Yep.
I mean, I think I even see it on that white bass. Look at how intense it's more yellow, not so gold. Then we go down to a gold. More yellow, not so gold. Then we go down to a creamy gold type of color.
Yeah.
So there'll be little consistencies from picture to picture to picture. And so pick out what you like and what you want to copy. What Brett was talking about, the pan pastels, we discovered worked pretty good for, you see this dark shading in here? Right up in here above the pupil. And a little bit down there and up in the front corner of his eye also. And you can put that on, I put it on. You can mix your pan pastels with triple thick glaze, works good. You can mix it with water probably and it'll work pretty good. You can mix it with black paint, or you can thin down black paint, or you like to put it on dry.
Yep, I like to put the pan pastels on dry. I think it gives that kind of soft, stippled look. You can also put it on with an airbrush if you can really dial down your custom micron airbrush.
And that's when we got, I think any airbrush will do that. Okay. Any good airbrush?
Any good airbrush, absolutely.
We started playing with stippling with our airbrushes, and you take the tip off and thin your paint very, very thin, and turn your air pressure down till you don't think it can spray paint, and all of a sudden you'll get dots. And if your dots are too big, it's almost like pixels. If your pixels are too big, turn the air pressure up a tick and until you get it just right. And you can spray some very, very nice speckled patterns, you know, like you see in some of these eye pictures.
Yeah.
All right, pick me a dark color for that.
How about something in this is neutral gray extra dark. This is raw umber shade. I like this one. That's a nice dark
That's the one
brown.
we're gonna use?
Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm going to put it where I see it anyway is on the back of the eye. So way in the back of the eye, just before I get to the scleral band. Here's the back. Here's his pupil. I'm going to put a little bit of shading right here. I'm also going to do in the front of the eye, up in here, way in the front. I'm going to put a little bit of shading right there. And then I think fish are like football players, you know, they put that black under here so the sun doesn't get them.
Yeah.
Seems to me like fish tend to be a little darker on the top. So I'm going to put just, I'm going to pick the top because they're symmetrical, and I'm going to put a little bit of shading up on the top.
Elizabeth Ward said that the sclera would be the white of the eye.
Yeah. Won't be white, but it'll be light.
Yeah.
Light. Same as yours. You have blue.
Do I? I have blue. All
Blue
full
would
blue.
be the iris.
Yeah, and then your sclera is the white around it.
Yep.
Okay, now, for me, pan pastels do not build up quick enough. I'll put them on and Brett will say, oh, that's just perfect. That's so subtle. I can't even see it. So I may pick a different method when I do it for me, but it does
You don't
work.
have to do this for me.
Oh,
But one helpful part, if the first application isn't bright enough, put a little fixative on, lock it in place, and then build some more behind it, and that will certainly intensify your.
Now, this is the first layer you're going to see before you get to your metallics as you're looking from the front of the fish. So if you put this on and then you put your metallic behind it, it's going to be like a film. So now I'm going to take a little, you can't even see that I put it in there. Brett can't, but I can.
I like it.
I'm going to put a little more in.
And again, this is your shading. This is what I would like to do if I were painting the other direction. This is what I would do last. Would be to shade after I got all my bright colors in. I'd start shading over it, but we have to do the shading first because we're painting from the back side.
Connie Alden would like to know if the blanks that you are using are half dome glass eyes.
No, they're plastic. They're acrylic. And I guess I'd call them half domed.
Yeah, I would
That's
say
what you mean.
They do, rather than a perfect dome, if you look at them right along from this direction, you'll see that there is some anatomical shape to it. They do have a little bit of a peak, and they do change direction here at the definition between the cornea and the sclera, or the iris and the sclera. So not necessarily a perfect half dome, but they are half and concave, convex.
And just a quick reminder that Father's Day is this coming weekend.
Oh my
if
gosh.
you haven't gotten your special man in your life anything yet, we did put a collection together on our website.
Good collection.
Yeah, it's an awesome collection. It's super easy to find if you go to matuskataxidermy.com and then our supply page. It'll be right up there next to our top World Show items that are in the collection. So if you haven't, check those out. And yeah, came up really fast.
Yes, it did.
Something else I'm going to do, I see around this eye, around the perimeter of the gold ring, I see, I'd call it stippling. Just little bunch of little dots. It real tight to the gold ring here, extends way out in front of the gold ring in front. I'm going to do a little of that. And I'm just gonna, I took a watered down Woods and Waters. I just took a little bit of this, put it in there with a water on my brush, and I got it real watered down.
I notice you get a lot of that watery liquid paint out of your bristles. So
That's so I don't make too bad a mistake the first time.
yeah.
Yeah, you don't want a big gob, I guess, of paint. Now you could do this with the pen if you wanted to. You could do it with all different kinds of materials and instruments to do this with. You're going to pick out what works best for you.
Lauren Davidson said, great tip on the stippling with an airbrush. And he says, thank you. Did
A
I say
good
that
airbrush,
right?
and I don't remember if I could do it with my bee. Have you tried with the bees?
Mm-hmm.
And it works?
Yeah.
When I got my custom micron, I started doing it with that, and I thought, oh, this is kind of neat, and it's really good for this and for painting fish. Walleyes especially have all those little dark gray-y brown speckles all throughout their gill area, and that is really fun to put on.
Well, and I think as we look further and further and closer at our reference, if you can look here, all of these markings are actually made of very, very tiny little stippled markings, stippled spots, not just specific to the eye, but the markings within the fish. So that's just a kind of a neat thing to play with. We certainly couldn't, I don't think we could put all those spots on our fish individually, but doing it with an airbrush gives kind of neat effect.
And the neat thing about this is the anticipation, because you have no idea what this is going to look like.
Are you implying that we have no idea what we're going to come up with?
No.
I like painting fish eyes. It is a monumental task the first time you do it, but the more you've done, the more efficient you become. And gosh, I look at some of those fish that Jimmy does that sends us pictures of.
Oh, he's
man,
a
I think
fish
they're
eye painter.
yeah, I think he's got a custom eye in every fish that he does, and they're exceptional. Very, very, very nice. So
Now, you mentioned that I like to get a lot of this off before I start painting, and the big reason is I would rather go around that eye 4 or 5 times
yeah,
lightly rather than get it too heavy the first time and have to wipe it off.
certainly.
So let's see what we got here. Okay, now a lot of it doesn't look very dark yet.
So if we were to name this step,
I'm going to darken him up just a little.
I think this would be shading. And that would be in the iris area.
And then another quick note is the Nebraska show is this weekend, and Brett will be there. Yay, Brett.
Yes, we will.
And we've got lots of orders that, because he can't haul so much, we'll be sending.
Yeah, we're gonna ship some orders out, pre-orders, and we are going to take orders while we're there. Got some fun mannequins we're gonna bring and a few things, but I will be there. If you need to place an order, there is a show discount. I believe that's a 15% discount. See me and we'll write it up, and I'll bring it back, or we can get you a card and you can call in on Monday.
And do we sell the blank eyes?
We do.
We absolutely do. They're called Still Life Lenses. They were crafted by Jeff Lumsden, and we sell them from size-wise. Tom, how big?
Oh gosh, we got some little guys, trout people. I wouldn't doubt we have them.
Do we have them down to 6?
We must.
And up to, are these the big ones, the 18s? Or do we have one size bigger?
That might be it.
I think it is. I think that's the size we go, is 18 millimeter. And incidentally, that brings up, while Tom dries that little portion, when you measure a fisheye, we're measuring, it's important for us to know the anatomy here. We're measuring the iris size. So if you're ordering an 18 millimeter eye, that is this portion here. Similar to the glass eye, but remember, if your eye includes the scleral band, the base of the eye is going to be larger than 18 millimeters. Which I know that's almost a whole topic in and of itself, but
And I
worth
think
mentioning
in the
now.
catalog, it says, it compares iris size to base size.
Iris
And
base, yes.
We know people get mixed up a lot of times because they order 26 millimeter walleye eyes, which is like a
Like a
40
baseball?
40 pound fish. But it is confusing, so what we teach students is to take the eye out intact of the fish, gently put pressure on it so it fills out, take a fine calipers and measure just the iris. And so if your iris is maybe 16 millimeters, you can almost guess that your base size is going to be 4 millimeters bigger.
So a good illustration of that would be this cast.
Sure.
So if you were to measure this fisheye, your measurement would be just of the iris, which is noted here in red at, say that's 18 millimeters, but the remainder of the eye is considerably larger than that 18 millimeter eye. So if you measured the hole or the opening of the eye and ordered by that size, that's how we get those big 26, 28 millimeter walleye orders, and that's much too large. We need to measure and make sure that we measure the iris, which we may come back to at another time as a topic, but
That is
just thought we would.
complicated for some people.
Michelle DeWilt would like to know if we sell the reference pictures as a set.
No, as far as eyes, no, we don't.
Mandy has made some spectacular deer reference photo albums,
And we could have a
sets,
fisheye
and we have
reference.
talked about fish. I think over the last 20 some years that I've collected pictures, and
We have some.
deer more than he's been collecting pictures. We have some exceptional photos. So yeah, good to know, Mandy, if you're watching, fisheye reference.
And then Billy, I apologize if I vomit this, Sailors would like to know, when using pastels, do you wet the brush or applicator, and if so, with water?
I have wet the brush before, and it works very good. And it will give you much more intense pastels, and it'll build up way faster. You won't have to go around. I typically would dip it in water, get most of the water off, and it's going to turn that pastel powder into paint.
Yeah,
Powder
like a paint slurry.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yes, you can do that. Now, should we put some color on him?
I think that'd be cool. Do you have a question?
I do. Connie Alden would like to know, after mounting your eyes in the fish, what do you clean them with?
After mounting the eyes in the fish and if they're real bad, we'll lacquer thinner them off even.
Yep, and that's scary because lacquer thinner will take the finish off and causes them to fog. But we gloss our fish. We put a nice a heavy gloss on, and they shine right back up. You can use Windex, alcohol.
This one has lost his luster because I was playing with him for live, and I washed him off so many times with lacquer thinner. But fine steel wool even, it will take the shine off, and you'll think, oh no, I wrecked him, but any good gloss will put it right back.
Yeah,
Right back.
they will gloss right up.
And then we cover our eyes when we paint. We used to put eye frisket or eye protect on them. And when we would put that on there, we would paint the entire fish. Then we would peel it off and gloss the fish. Lately, we've got lazy, and it seems to work really good. We have a little ball of oil-based clay, and we'll get it nice and warm and workable on our fingers, and take a pea size, and we will push it on the eye and work it all the way to the sclera or wherever your epoxy stopped before we start painting. And then when we mount the fish, when we gloss the fish, pop the clay off, take a soft rag, paper towel, anything, clean the eye off, and it should be ready to go.
Yeah, that works really, that's slick. That works
But
really
cleaning them off, if you do something to ruin the shine, don't worry, because you're gonna gloss over them.
And if you were to accidentally scratch them, and that is worth noting that these are acrylic, different than your glass eye, so do be careful. Recommend probably plastic or wood tools when working around with your acrylic eyes, or a soft paintbrush. Being very careful.
Okay, on this fish, I see, I don't want to say purple or lavender, but it's more towards, you'd call it the warm side, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to have to make it. I don't have any color like that. This one is chunky on me, but I'm going to take something lighter than we do the rest of the eye, and I'm going to do just this area down in here. Maybe a little splash up there.
You said you're going to make it. This is kind of a neat option here.
Advanced stuff.
Yeah. Should we tell them, or is it a secret?
Okay, can I do this?
Yeah, we don't sell that stuff though.
Oh, but we can. Any of your Pearl-X powders will do. I'm going to put a little bit of that in there. Now look at how pretty that is.
And that is just a fine copper powder.
Caitlin, we could do your toenails in there.
Oh, yeah.
Now,
I know, the pan pastels, I want to paint a pretty picture with them.
And so you're taking triple thick.
I'm taking triple thick glaze and making a slurry in here.
And this is just a clear gloss medium. You could use anything if you wanted to.
We use this on a lot of things. It's water-based gloss. It's thick. We use it for the moisture underneath the eye of our mammals.
We only use it half as thick for that though.
Half as thick, we do thin it. But anytime you need a really shiny spot, that's the thing. We even used to, we use Mod Podge now most of the time, but we used to texture. I used to texture my deer noses with that.
Sure.
It works real good.
Yep.
Did you see, speaking of paint, somebody showed me yesterday the high heels. They had 3 giant high heels on pedestals, like just high heel shoe on pedestals. They had a leopard one, and they had a black and white one, and they had another one.
Really?
And there's a man and a woman talking about these high heels, and all of a sudden the high heels weren't high heels, they were painted naked women.
What?
And you couldn't tell them from glamour shots of a high heels on we'll show you. You can Google it. It was
Sure, I want to Google that. What else will come up?
no, it was artsy.
Another thing, so Tom talked briefly about customizing a color here. This is something that I like to do. Is Tom used the clear triple thick. I've always got liquid scales handy, and they come in a wide variety of colors, but every now and then I'll find a color that I don't quite see, or I don't want to run downstairs and grab for a particular person. You can mix that Pearl-X powder into your liquid scales too, and customize your liquid scales colors.
You can mix anything on this table. You can mix together. Now, down in the bottom of that eye, I don't want as rich of a color as I mixed up here. So I put a little bit of liquid scales gold, and I'm just going to see if I can't make it a little lighter than what I had.
Oh man, you've been in a hurry. We've been talking a lot.
One more little thing. Whoops. Whoops.
And just a quick reminder for everybody that all the products used in today's live are going to be 15% off from now until tomorrow at 11:59 p.m. Central Time. And you can find those products on our website under Facebook Live featured products, and you will use Facebook Live 15 for the code at checkout. So definitely take advantage of the awesome sale.
The Still Life lenses, pan pastels, we got those on sale again.
Yes. So if you missed out on our pan pastel sale we had, I think it was last week, definitely take advantage because all singles are 15% off.
Wait, I got it.
And it's a good idea in between coats to use a hairdryer, just to make sure that these water-based paints get good adhesion.
They dry really fast. Okay, now I did just a couple. If you want to see what that looks like, come out. Now I just put a little bit back here, a little bit up in front. I might put a little down here to balance it out a little bit.
Don't paint the front.
I know. And now we're going to come in with our dark copper color.
Are you excited yet? Is this going to come out? Or do we need to go to commercial break?
We might have to go to a commercial break.
And for those of you who have just tuned in a little bit ago, make sure to share this video. You have until next Thursday before our next live at 3:30 to be entered in a chance for our giveaway. And we will be announcing our winners from last week's live here very shortly.
We better do that.
So if Brandon Hitchcock or Andrew Tarr is present on this video, please give us a comment. We'll give a few moments for that. And then another couple notes to keep in mind is that the Wisconsin show's date changed from February 27th to March 1st of 2020. And then Nationals is July 25th through July 27th.
Yes,
and it looks like Brandon Hitchcock is here. So congratulations. You won our lens caddies that Tom is using here to hold the eye.
That's a whole set of them too, so which is pretty handy because they are customized for each of the different size lenses. So that's pretty cool.
All right, let's see how it turned out.
First coats. I'm going to put another coat on.
So he just reached down and grabbed another one. I should have put it up on the table.
There you go.
This one right here, thinking, how can I get that under the table so they won't see?
Oh, that's funny.
No, it's going to be great.
It does look very nice.
It's going to be good.
I got a sneak peek. I can see it. It's pretty cool. And this is fun. This is one of those things that I guess if I were setting these up for production work, for commercial work, I might have 8 or 10 of them all set out. I might have even more than that, doing them all together. So
If you were doing this for commercial work, you'd be broke.
No, I really do think you could expedite this process pretty well. I know guys do it, and it can be done. So don't be intimidated by it and think that it's going to take you the full hour to do one eye. I think.
Now we're going to paint. We're just painting the iris portion, iris, pupil, gold ring, that sort of thing. We won't get to the scleral band today, but this will give you a good idea of what to do. Now, it looks something like that.
Ooh, I like it.
Is that cool?
That's super cool. That is a nice one.
Now,
Boy, we got lucky.
I did get lucky. If I can do this, anybody can do this. Now that one I made this one earlier, and they could almost be a match. I don't think a customer would notice. This one I attempted to make a little bit darker.
I like it. Another thing that would I think be a potential step would be, we've got the copper on here. You could put another little bit of gold behind that copper, give you some more color. You could also put, after you're done with all of your metallics, you could paint that black behind that.
Like a mirror.
Yeah. So I noticed that when we paint from the other direction, paint our reproduction fish, we like to have the base color be dark, and the metallics that we have in here tend to jump off of that. Really nice.
And if you want to, you can even put little blood vessels in here, which nobody
Like
would
he was out too late.
ever see. We do have one. Where's that one that? Where's that other one we did that was got off the red
you
eye?
had an eye. Be over here.
Yeah, we got one of those a little too bloodshot. Second one. There you go.
Yeah, he was out late. Came in a little late.
Now, if you look real close, and again, customer's not going to climb up on a ladder and look at if his scleroband has blood vessels, but those Scleras, they're beautiful. They've got purples and blues and all different colors in the band around the eye right as it goes into the different membranes and things like that. And that's real fun to use some of these Pearlex iridescence or the Pan Pastel modeling up there.
Yeah.
We've even had fun working with those Gansai Tempai paints and things like that. So I guess what we tried to show you today is don't be scared. If I can do it, anybody can do it.
And customize are just one step. You can take
Now,
this all the way
let's-
into making your own.
Let's take some commercial ones and just see. Yes, there's going to be fish with dark eyes for sure. So, but what would you like in your fish? Would you like, let's get some more up here. Would you like some of these little guys?
And then Connie would like to know if after you're done with your eyes, do you seal it? And if you do, with what?
I would, first of all, I'd seal it with the Fix-A-Tip and make sure it's good and dry. Don't seal it until it's good and dry or you're going to trap moisture in there. Triple thick gloss, any of the good glosses. I have found that some of the glosses turn your paint molten and it curdles, so make sure it's really, really dry. 2-3 light coats of this. I mean, when I say light, it's like, you know, just like that. Really light coats of Fix-A-Tip, let that dry, and then come in with maybe a light coat of this and then a heavier coat, and I don't think you'll have any problems. We used to, on one of these eyes here is a glass eye. Was that this one? This was a glass eye, and we used to paint all of our eyes. We didn't go to this kind of detail, but we would get the eye blanks. We painted basically gold on the back, and but in order to get it to stick, we used enamel spray paint, and in order to get it to stick, we would bake it. And I don't remember what we did, a couple hundred degrees for a couple hours, and your paint would never chip or anything like that. Don't do that with the top row, or you're going to have a puddle of
Melt here.
colored glass. But
And then Diana Ward has a question about judging. When you're judging, do you give any credit for people that paint their own eyes?
sure, done well, yeah.
A well done painted eye, I would definitely give credit to. If your execution isn't up to the standard of a commercial eye, I probably wouldn't give credit, even though you went to the effort of painting it. If we could buy a better looking eye, probably. Personally, I'd rather see you go to a commercial one. So practice.
And we see some good eyes.
Oh man,
You know,
I've seen
there's some really
great
good
eyes.
eyes. There's people that put in as much time into that as they do into their whole fish.
Yeah.
I saw.
And that's a good point, and I hate to derail the conversation, but I have seen people focus on just painting the eyes and lose track of fin anatomy and things like that too. So don't
Can't
be
see the forest through the trees.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
Don't get distracted.
I'm lost.
don't get distracted trying to gain 1 point and lose 10 in anatomy. So if you're gonna paint your customized, make sure that everything else is up to par too.
But try this, get a pair, try it. This is probably all materials you have in your shop. Liquid scales, Perlexes, if you do fish anyway. All of the Woods and Waters paint work great. They got good metallics, they got pearls,
Yeah.
all kinds of things. And play with this. And like I said, if you don't like what you got, a little bit of lacquer thinner in there. If it's just water paint, maybe just water to start with, and then lacquer will take it off and start again. You can do them over and over and over. And
You just spent an hour doing that. I don't want to wipe that out.
Connie says that that you need to be the next judge.
no, I'm a bad judge. I'm a bad judge of character. I'm a bad judge of everything.
Not true. Not true at all.
Yes, I am.
But I think that kind of does. We got our winner taken care of. Next week.
Oh, you tell me about glasses. That's what you're going to say.
Oh, yes. So all of this done. Did you flip your glasses down one time?
No, they're on most of the time.
The magnivisors are an extremely big help when working in these small spaces. Just in defining some of the areas. You got your headlights on.
Discontinued, huh?
I know.
Discontinued.
Yep, they are. They're
Every
gone.
time you get a good product, they're discontinued.
But we like them. But don't be afraid to put it under magnification. It really does help you as my eyes age. I found that is not...
If it looks good,
Yes.
magnified, it's going to look great to the naked eye.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Well, don't forget that all products that were used in this video are 15% off up until tomorrow at 11:59 p.m. Central Time. So definitely take advantage of that. And if you haven't done so already, make sure to share this video to be entered for a chance to win for our giveaway next week. So we will see you guys next Thursday at 3:30.
Thanks for coming.
Bye, guys.